What are you buying?
Oh, good, you're awake.
Oh, good. You're awake. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, reading A Clash of Kings. I am Zach, and as always, sitting here next to me is my co-host, Nate.
You know, and then you wonder why I come in all on a down note when you're like all upbeat, and now let's bring in Nate. Why are you so depressed, Nate? What's your problem?
I don't ever ask why you're depressed because I don't care about that.
Yeah, me either. Anyway.
Your mental health is your own, bro.
If you've joined us before, you know that we are full spoiler. If you haven't, you might want to make sure you're caught up because otherwise we just don't care.
What are you even doing with the holidays? Spending time with family?
Read books,
Read
man.
books and isolate yourself.
Yeah, like the best way to live.
Grow up.
Come on.
Listeners,
Come
grow
on.
up.
Get yourself some nice warm tea or coffee or whatever other warm beverage or cold. I don't give a shit.
So, a little fun fact. Today, we are recording this on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Ching, ching, ching.
Because we're behind on our recording
Because we're behind.
schedule.
But, yeah, the holidays have mucked it all up. But, yeah, this is a special little holiday ho-ho-ho episode.
Yeah.
I guess.
Do they have Christmas in Game of Thrones? Is that a thing? I don't even... No kind of... No. Well, I guess there's no Jesus Christ.
They have the Yule Ball.
They have the Yule Ball?
No.
No, that's Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's just where teenagers get to be angsty
Hell
wizards
yeah.
and try to get laid.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, we read Game of Thrones, and if you joined us last episode...
We read A Song of Ice and Fire, and if you joined us last
A
episode,
dog.
we had read Catelyn 1, Catelyn's first episode, where she was joining Robb during his first big council meeting as king in the north. We learned that Tywin is amassing another host at Casterly Rock, and Robb doesn't give a shit. He kind of gives a shit, but we also learn he's sending Theon out to Pike. To Pike? To Pike. To Pike we go. We're sending the Pike.
Yeah,
first,
hi, I'm Zach. I'll be apparently just saying stupid shit like calling a Song of Ice and Fire Game of Thrones, but yeah, he's heading with the Mallisters to Seaguard first to drop off some hostages, and then from there to Pike to treat with his father. Yes, Pike.
Yes.
Also a cleric in Critical Role, which is a great D&D show. You should watch it.
Voiced and played by Ashley Johnson.
Pike is, yeah.
Who's a badass.
She's amazing. Anyway.
Video game stuff. Anyway. This episode we were reading Tyrion 2 of Clash of Kings. And so last time when we joined Tyrion, he was arriving at King's Landing, or had just arrived actually in King's Landing. He had spoke with the kids a little bit, greeted them, and then went and had a chat with Cersei Lannister.
To give his sister the business.
And not just Cersei, the whole small council was there when he first arrived. So.
Yeah, he basically said, "Yeah, I'm sitting in for my father. That's what's happening." And then Cersei got very upset, and they had a private discussion where Tyrion said, "If you basically assist me and don't be dumb about it, we can keep Joffrey on the throne, which is what everybody wants, but we've got to fix your fuck-ups that you have allowed to happen because father isn't happy." And just kind of reminding her of Cersei's place as she's getting a little out of line, as is Joffrey.
We got a pretty good idea of how shitty King's Landing is currently, as he took a little stroll through the city on his way to visit Shae, and was greeted by Varys, who also knew where Shae was. And they had a fun little chat, as they do.
Varys posed a riddle, and Tyrion and Shae went to bed. And so this chapter picks up as Tyrion and Janos Slynt are having some dinner together, and it says that Janos Slynt was a butcher's son, and he laughed like a man chopping meat. Ugh.
Yeah, and that's, I think it's, and not to put down butchers in any way, but the more metaphorical butcher, you know, he's just a simple savage man. He just doesn't give a fuck. But they're in the small hall, which we learned from Arya chapters early on in Game of Thrones, isn't because it's actually small. It's just smaller than the Great Hall. And it's only them and some servants. And Tyrion asks Janos if he wants another cup of wine. who does because he's a fucking drunk, and he starts spewing off shit. And this is where, like, the first, I think it's right off the bat, we see how much of a douchebag he is, because I don't think he knows shit about wine. He's an up fucking jump, butcher's son and shit. Like,
yeah, right off the bat we get, because Tyrion, he as his cup was filled, he takes a pretty healthy gulp, and Tyrion notes that he was not a man for sipping, and he had noticed that relatively early on about Janos Slynt. Yeah. And so right off the bat, we're getting that Tyrion is watching this man and his mannerisms and realizing that he's a glutton. He's going to keep filling up on whatever it is he's got because he thinks he's living the high life right now.
Yeah, and so I was pointing out he tried to call out what kind of wine it was, where it was made, the arbor, he says, and Tyrion corrected him, saying it was Dornish wine. And like I said, I think that's him trying to live above his station and acting, oh, this is this kind of wine, isn't it? And, like, it almost seemed like, wouldn't arbor wine be harder to come by currently with the war and just outside stuff anyway? Like, he just seems like he's trying to shout out and act like he knows what he's talking about with Tyrion.
Yeah,
trying to keep up to that
It
level.
sounds like it's an up-jumped lord. He doesn't... He's not used to drinking Dornish Reds and Arbor Reds with high lords like Tyrion or the Hand of the King. Like, this is all new for him. So yeah, he's absolutely blundering his way through. And you have a gift for words, my Lord Tyrion, and you tell a droll tale, droll.
Yeah, so we get there that he likes Tyrion. He thinks he's funny. He's having a great fucking time.
Yeah, he's eating it up. And Tyrion notes that he was well and truly drunk as the buffoon begins spilling some wine down his front in his excitement.
Yeah, and so I notice he's also fluffing up Janos here because he compliments him, reminding him that I'm not a lord, as you are. A simple Tyrion will suffice for me, Lord Janos. Kind of reminding him that, no, technically speaking, like, if I wasn't Hand, you would be higher than me at the moment because you're, a lord. I'm not. I'm a lord's son.
And as he's watching him, Tyrion notes that he'd taken it easy on the wine tonight, but he was quite full, as his first act after taking up residence in the Tower of the Hand was to inquire after the finest cook in the city and take her into his service. And so, over a very fine meal, him and Janos had discussed the taking of Janos taking Harrenhal, and Tyrion had called it a grim place and costly, and some say cursed. And Janos, being the bold new lord, should I fear a pile of stones? You must be bold to rise, as I have. You would know. You are a bold man, too. Small, mayhaps, but bold. I sense it. Like, fuck off.
Shut up.
I'm bold because I happened
did
to
shitty things to get my way and climb my way up.
That's it. Is this opportunity fell into his lap by or the circumstance of all the different shit of Littlefinger starting.
He happened to make it to City Guard, Lord there, and then Littlefinger was buying them out, and he was just a dirty fucking.
He happened to be Lord Commander at the time. It wasn't anything Janos Slynt did. So to like boast like I'm a bold man to take what is rightfully mine as a lord. It's a fuck off.
Yeah, so Tyrion turns the topic to his replacement as Lord Commander of the City Watch, saying, I've taken a look at the list of names, and I think he said 6 names were provided to him.
Al-Ardim. Al-Ardim is your man. He's a good man and loyal if it pleases the king.
I have one note about Al-Ardim, and it's just in parentheses here. Fuck Al-Ardim.
Fuck Al-Ardim.
I don't like his name.
Fuck
you, Al-Ardim. I don't obviously like the shit that he pulls that we get a little more here in detail in a bit, but fuck Al-Ardim. Fuck him. And Tyrion kind of gives us an idea that he seems to be a shitty person, but he asks about somebody else that he's considering, Jacelyn Bywater. Jacelyn? I was saying Jacelyn, so I like Jacelyn Bywater.
Captain of the Mudgate for 3 years. He served with valor during the Greyjoys Rebellion, and he was knighted by Robert himself at Pike.
He lost his hand during the fight, but, he's still a well-enabled man. Look at Donald Noy. He lost some shit, and he still serves the Night's Watch amiably.
To which, about Ser Jacelyn, Janos replies that he's a queer dog. Men don't like him, and he's a cripple, to boot. Traded his hand for a sir, and then Janos laughs, and that's not really an equal trade in my mind. Al-Ardim's the man you want, and just keeps pushing him.
Because Janos says, he's not liked by the men, But Tyrion says Jacelyn Bywater is liked in the streets, but he's not liked. But Elar Deem is not liked in the streets. Not to mention that little brothel incident, he says. And so Slynt defends the guy, saying, he told the woman to stand aside. Like, he said it was supposed to. This is just what he was doing. He was just following orders. There's nothing wrong with what he did. And I think we learn here in a second anyway, but if not, that he was sent in by apparently Cersei to kill the bastard of Robert Baratheon.
Yeah.
Bara, if you remember, from way back when.
Yeah, Tyrion isn't having any of his explanation. It says, still, mothers and children, he might have expected that she would try to save her babe. And so, yeah, Deem was sent there to kill the child, told the mother to stand aside. She didn't do so. The mother got killed along with the child. And so Tyrion asks him, why did you choose Deem for this unhappy task? And Slynt replies, a good commander knows his men. Some are fit for one job, some for another. Doing a babe, still on the tit, that takes a certain sort. Not every man would do it, even if it was just a whore and her whelp. And the word whore, of course, makes Tyrion think of Tysha and Shae and all the other women. And
I think it's interesting that we're only in Clash of Kings. We're only in the 8th chapter of Clash of Kings. And he's just so heavy with the word whore being a trigger for Tyrion.
Yeah.
Like, so early on. It's insane.
Yeah, and Janos continues just prattling on. Hard man for a hard job is Deem, does as he's told and never a word after word. And so Tyrion asks the million-dollar question of who sent you after the whore's bastard. And
yeah, I'm much too clever for that. I didn't write any quote there.
That's fuck the quote. I mean, Slynt essentially thinks he's catching Tyrion in something. Tyrion's being quite open about this at this point.
Yeah, that wasn't like he was trying to sneak information by.
So, but Slynt thinks, you thought you could trick me. Takes more than wine and cheese to make Janos Slynt tell more than he should. Never a question and never a word afterward, not from me. And Tyrion says, as with Deem, it would seem. As with Deem, it would seem. But he says, Tyrion goes on and says, whoever the king names will have a hard time filling your armor, Lord Janos. Lord Mormont faces that very same issue. And Slynt is extremely confused.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he's like, Lord Commander Jeor Mormont of the Night's Watch, he's looking for a replacement as well.
Tyrion dangling it right in front of him.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, he when I visited, he mentioned he was concerned about finding a good man to take his place after he should die. The Watch sees so few good men, he'd sleep easier with a man like you or the valiant Ser Elar Deem beside him. And Slynt roars in laughter at this. Small chance of that! And so
Tyrion's like, yeah, well, nobody ever thought that Ned would lose his head out on the Sept of Baelor either.
Yeah, one would think, but life takes queer turns. Consider Eddard Stark. I doubt he imagined his life ending on the steps of Baelor's Sept.
Yeah.
Fucking nailed it. I think that's the perfect epitome of what Eddard Stark's death is. It's not so much he's the main character. Obviously it was Jon and Arya and Dany.
It's the circumstances around his death
goddamn,
of all people.
Here, now, and he just confessed to something he didn't do. And so I think Tyrion really symbolizes how this world logical people in this world feel about Eddard Stark's death, and kind of to help summarize for me a little bit of what I think about Eddard Stark's death, which is, it's just
well,
sort
and
of
that's
the
Tyrion
circumstance
even
of
mocks it because he tells Janos, "Man, I wish I could have been there." Because then they say even Varys was surprised, which I think is a neat little nod to show that. Because we knew about his plans, that he was, talking to Ned, convinced him to try to take the Black, and that was something Cersei would agree to. So the fact that Tyrion points that out, that Varys, even the people saw that Varys was surprised.
Well, that's,
of all people.
That's the hint here that we're getting into dangerous territory, because Tyrion's pissed about this, because it's Eddard Stark dying. That fucked up a lot of stuff for a lot of people, and so him saying they say even Varys was surprised is like, that's how fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like even Varys.
Well, because that's Janos laughs and he's like, "Ah, the spider thinks he knows everything, but he didn't know that, did he?"
And Tyrion asks, how could he, while putting the first hint of a chill in his voice. He'd helped persuade my sister to let Stark be pardoned on condition that he took the black. And so, yeah, where Tyrion is now starting to lay it out. My sister Cersei.
It's starting to show that he knows more than Janos.
The Queen Regent in Swynt swallowed. As to that, the king himself commanded it. And Tyrion says, the king is 13. And he asks to see...
his clasp, his little sigil, his little arrowhead or the spear point with the blood on it.
The red enamel blood, Tyrion says, is a shade much. But tell me, my lord, did you drive the spear into the man's back yourself, or did you only give the command? And so now Tyrion's really fucking just...
Yeah, Slynt starts feeling the turn
Let's
as
do
well.
it, yeah.
Because he's like, I gave the order and I would do it again, gladly, as he was a traitor. Then he shouts out, the man tried to buy me, almost like trying to put more shame, besmirch Ned's name even more.
Little dreaming you had already been sold, which is just the best comeback. Like, yeah, you were bought, you fucking...
He tried to buy you, but he didn't have enough money to actually fucking pay you off.
Yeah, you've already been offered, because you're such a little man that you were happy with Harrenhal, a lordship, and a title and all that. And so Slynt slammed his cup down and asks, are you drunk? I'll not sit here and have my honor questioned. And Tyrion, just without a beat, what honor is that? You made a better bargain than Ser Jacelyn, lordship in a castle for a spear thrust in the back, and you didn't even thrust the spear. And he tosses the clasp back, and it bounces off Slynt's chest as he rises out of his chair. And now we get the pettiness of Slynt.
Yeah, he turns. Yeah. He goes from having a jovial, drunken, droll night, and... Well, because when he throws it back, Janos he says, you're an imp, and who do you think you are? Which is where you see how stupid he goes. Because, really? And that's how Tyrion is. He's like, seriously? You're going to act like you know exactly who the fuck I am.
Yeah.
By the way, Janos, how many sons do you have? And
puffing up, he says, what are my sons to you, dwarf? And that's strike 2 and 3
fireworks.
Right there.
He lights the fuse.
Dwarf, Tyrion's anger flashed. You should have stopped it, imp. I am Tyrion of House Lannister, and if you had the sense the gods gave a sea slug, you would hit your knees in thanks that it is me here and not my father. How many sons do you have, Lord Janos? And Tyrion sees the sudden fear come into Slynt's eyes, and he the 3, my lord, and a daughter. Please don't, please, and starts fucking groveling.
And Tyrion's like, end that shit.
Yeah.
I don't want any fucking groveling. No. So he tells him that the 2 youngest sons will be squired out to somebody. He hasn't decided where just yet. And the oldest will inherit all titles and lands.
He says, yes, all that. But he says that they'll be treated gently. Your children won't be harmed. Your 2 youngest may even become knights if they serve loyally and faithfully. But you're fucked because of what you did. Your kids still your oldest will inherit the title of Lord Janos. Yeah. And then I actually do kind of like...
Well, because then he tells him that the oldest will be responsible for getting the daughter married.
Lands will be given, but not Harrenhal.
He
will be. Right. It will be up to him to raise his own seat. He'll have to build his own home there.
And so Janos starts stumbling out, asking what's going to happen to me, basically. And he tells him there's a fucking boat. It's leaving in the morning.
Summer's dream sails on the morning tide. She will call at Gulltown, the 3 Sisters, the Isle of Skagos, and Eastwatch by the Sea. Do give Lord Commander Mormont my fond regards, and tell him I've not forgotten the needs of the Night's Watch. I wish you long life and good service, my lord. So, yeah, fuck you, you're going to the wall. Bah. Tell Mormont, here I am, because you asked for men to serve.
Yeah. And so Janos loses it here. He stands up, starts just calling a bunch of names out at Tyrion, and storms out. Basically, talking about how much more powerful friends he has than Tyrion.
Yeah. The king will hear of this, and the queen.
And my nephew, my sister, Littlefinger.
I've got powerful friends at court, and
he makes to leave. And as soon
one of the best moments of the
love
chapter.
this. He opens the door, and standing there in his old armor, basically, is Jacelyn Bywater.
Yeah.
Lord Commander Jacelyn Bywater.
Tyrion introduces him as Lord Commander Jason, and which is so great because Tyrion had already appointed him.
Absolutely.
It was
Throughout all
already
this,
done,
yeah. He's waiting.
And so getting his opinion on Jacelyn
Didn't
is
matter.
just proves
great, yeah.
how, of course, he's going to be against anyone but who he wants,
Right.
because he thinks he's clever and it's just fucking perfect. So yeah, the Gold Cloaks come in and they start backing him off and taking Slynt, getting ready to lead him out, and as they do, Tyrion hands Bywater a roll of parchment with another 6 he wants sent to the wall, but he tells them one, Deem would not be amiss should he be lost overboard or lost at sea.
And Jacelyn Bywater is like, the seas in the north are treacherous this time of year, I've heard.
All right, peace out, Alar Deem.
I heart Jacelyn Bywater.
Yeah.
He's like, people are lost at sea all the time.
So
what can we say?
before we continue, they all begin to leave and head out, collecting Janos Slynt for his morning ride on the boat. But before Tyrion's next guest comes in, we're going to
We're going to go to our small council.
We're going to do that. Foot in mouth. I'll see you after the break.
Yeah.
What up, my glip glops?
What's going on? Welcome to the small council meeting.
So, we only just got some social stuff to hit up and catch up with today.
Just begun.
Because I'm a big fan of this Tyrion chapter, and the next part especially is kicking it into high gear. So if you want to write in any inductees or your thoughts, opinions, feelings, maybe a rate and review, you can always rate and review us on any
site,
platform,
all that stuff. Yeah, definitely.
But we are also on the typical socials. I'm on Twitter at Carstark92.
I'm on Twitter at Manners Without, which is also the Instagram. We have a Inster. Okay.
Yeah.
We also have a Facebook, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. And very important, if you would like to support our podcast and help fund what we do here, go to our Patreon, where we put out bonus episodes each month. As I stumble over these words. Patreon.com/Without Manners. I forgot what I was fucking plugging there for a second. So yeah, if you could support us there, that would be wonderful. We'd appreciate it. You get some cool little bonuses, different tiers. Anything else? Our email. You can email us, which is where we are most readily available.
Yeah.
That's withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. It's nice and easy.
All right, that's it. We'll let you get back to it.
Tyrion.
Give us reviews on stuff later.
Thanks.
So Tyrion sits alone for a while, sipping some wine, just kind of thinking about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. And then Varys floats in with his happy ass. Sweetly done, my lord. Varys knows what Tyrion was doing.
This reread, I am enjoying everything about this motherfucker, except for his moist, damp hands. I always feel like they're weirdly soft and gross.
Yeah, Varys' sort of optimism and ooh-hoo-hoo-hoo-ing, as you so aptly do. Tyrion says that he just had Alar Deem ordered to be thrown into the sea. He's getting more and more tempted to do the same with Varys, because Varys is just too much at this point. And Varys gives the big Varys quote that a lot of people...
This is where we get the most sound evidence that Varys is a mermaid.
The most sound. This is where the most sound evidence for that theory comes from, so fucking buckle up. He says, "You might be disappointed by the result. The storms come and go. The big fish eat the little fish, and I keep on paddling."
Oh, I've got it. Varys is Patface.
Varys is fucking Gendry.
Oh.
I don't know if Gendry's still rowing in the book.
Actually,
I don't remember what the fuck happens with Gendry in the book, because it's Edric Storm.
But anyway yeah. So, big fish, little fish, it's a very popular quote with Varys.
And yeah, this conversation is interesting, but it's interesting in bits. The dialogue is juicy as fuck, but essentially they get down to Tyrion says it was Cersei who has been killing the babe. She all but admitted it. That's who Janos Slynt didn't want to.
Yeah, and Varys knew the whole fucking time.
Varys titters nervous.
Yeah, like because he didn't want Tyrion necessarily to know that he knew, which kind of pissed Tyrion off for a second, and he's like, "Well, it's
Can
your
you blame
sister.
me?
What do you expect?"
Yeah, Tyrion damns them both. Damn you, damn Cersei, and things.
So we also get answer to your question from a while back there. Varys says that he had sent to have Gendry taken away and saved from Cersei's wrath of murder.
Yeah,
and so it was Varys that had. But was it Varys himself, or was it Varys sending an agent? Because he had sent somebody, right?
I think he sent somebody. The conversation into this is Tyrion tells him that he knows he can't touch. Well, he thinks about it that he can't touch Cersei yet.
Right.
She's in a pretty good spot right now, so he's got to be smart with Cersei as he's been being. And then he tells Varys out loud, "In the future, you will tell me what you know, all of what you know." And the eunuch's smile was sly. "That might take rather a long time. I know quite a lot." And that's when Tyrion says, "Not enough to save this child, apparently." And Varys says, "Not this one, but another, an older, a boy." And so, yeah, Varys... So, I think it was an agent, probably.
But is he talking about Gendry at all?
I would believe so.
And not Fagon?
I mean, I think that's the play here.
An older one.
The fun. Yeah, I think that's the fun. But I do think he got Gendry
Technically,
out.
he was talking about Gendry, yeah.
In this point. And so, yeah, Tyrion brings up Ned Stark's death and how that was Joffrey's doing. And Varys, essentially, they start getting into power and who Tyrion's men and how many men Tyrion has and how...
Oh, yeah, because he says, he doesn't have to worry about Cersei. He has the gold cloaks, he has his own men.
And he's reminded Vylar of his loyalty to Casterly Rock, not to Cersei.
Right, which is the captain of the Lannister House Guards. And that's it. They're Lannister guards. They're not Cersei guards. And I think that technically, while it's kind of a stretch or a jump because, who knows how long he's been here, I feel like Vylar is more likely to want to follow Tywin's orders than Cersei's.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that's just what it's going to come down to.
Which means obeying Tyrion and whatever Tyrion
exactly.
says. So Tyrion vocalizes that he doesn't trust Varys, and he asks him, "Why are you so helpful?" And Varys just answers, "I serve the realm, the king, and you."
So I really like, I just noted, I think that's technically the actual order that he...
The realm, the king, and then you.
And then the hand.
Yeah.
And so I think that his first order is always the realm, and then after that, he'll follow the king's commands if it fits the realm. And so I just thought it was interesting that he...
Yeah.
Those are the...
Tyrion takes it a little more literally and asks, "As you served Lords Arryn and Stark?" And Varys answers that, "I served them the best I could, and I was most horrified by their deaths."
Which is, we just learned, and Tyrion knows. He was surprised as all hell from it.
And Tyrion says, "Think how I feel. I'm like to be next." And Varys gets real interesting here.
Yeah, because he asks Tyrion about...
Well, he starts swilling his wine around, and he says, "Oh, I think not. Power is a curious thing, my lord." And he, "Perchance, have you perused that riddle I posed you the other day?" And I love for some reason, the swilling of wine in a cup is it's such a power move to me. It's so... and just the fact that he's like, "No, I don't think you will end up like Ned Stark or Jon Arryn, murdered suspiciously."
Right, right, because he has the morality to do good things, usually, but he also has the intelligence and
to play the game.
Not naive as all fuck, like Ned.
So they get into the riddle, and Tyrion says that, "Yes, I've thought about it a lot. It's a question with too many answers. It depends on the man who holds the sword."
Yeah, and Tyrion gets kind of aggravated and just wants the answer to the fucking riddle, is basically where he gets to. I think it's, because I just jumped to the quote that he finally says, "So basically what you're saying is that piece of steel is the power of life and death." And that's basically where the quote comes, is that, the important part of it is that it's the sword that has the power of life and death, and it's not true. Like, it's the wielder of the sword.
Yeah, because Tyrion is saying that it would be...
Because once he gives
the
that...
power of
right,
life and death.
well, then he gets... It really just pushes me towards that whole... Have we ever actually seen Varys and Syrio Forel in the same place? Have we ever actually seen them in the same place? Syrio Forel is Varys. Because he interrupts him with a, just so. And then continues, but if he holds the power, why serve a king? And then they go into the circles about, because if he serves that king, then that king can bring in more swords, but those swords hold the power for that king, and so why do they serve the king? And they just kind of do the roundabout that everyone ends up doing with
Varys
this riddle.
Smiles. He says, some say knowledge is power, some say it comes from the gods, others it derives from law. Yet that day, on Baelor's steps, our godly High Septon, the lawful Queen Regent, and your ever so knowledgeable servant were powerless. Who truly killed Eddard Stark? He asks a couple more questions, but that's truly the important one. Who killed Eddard Stark?
Right.
Was it Joffrey? Was it Ilan Payne? Was it the crowd? Was it
and then
the gods?
Right, finally gives the true answer to the
answer.
riddle. Power resides where men believe it resides. No more and no less.
So it is a trick, then, and Varys confirms.
A mummer's trick.
A shadow on the wall, and yet shadows can kill, and oft times a very small man can cast a very large shadow.
Now, can we ignore the Tyrion shadow casting, the mini guy with the big shadow, and instead go to Mirri Maz Duur, where there are shadows literally dancing on the walls, and it's just a mummer's trick? But does that make it any less deadly? Because that was a big thing that we talked about during those.
Fuck Mirri Maz Duur and go into the future and say Renly Baratheon, who's going to get shanked in this book by a shadow monster?
But is it on the wall? Because I'm specifically talking about dancing on the wall.
It
shadows.
Will. When
Catelyn like creepy grudge walks and shit.
Comes up. Yeah, so shadows can kill.
But yeah, it's just crazy that
it's
how
both a callback and a foreshadowing.
Yeah. And then the direct correlation with the Tyrion, because it was Aemon who said that he was a giant.
A giant come among us, yeah. Right. And Tyrion smiles, saying that he's growing quite fond of Varys, despite himself. And then, just truly curious, he asks, what are you, Varys? A spider, they say.
A mermaid in reality.
And, fuck off. And Varys says, spies and informers, we are seldom loved, but I am a loyal servant of the realm. And again, Tyrion's curiosity. And I thought it was pretty brazen, but he asks, who cut you, Varys? Who are you truly? When and why were you cut? And the quote says, the eunuch's smile never flickered, but his eyes glittered with something that was not laughter. And he just says, my tale is long and sad, and we have treasons to discuss, my lord. So he skirts that subject. Ain't the time.
Yeah. And
so that though, the smile is there, but the eyes glittered with like
you touched upon a topic.
Yeah,
you touched something here.
And so that's I'm curious what that look is. Is it fear in Varys? Is it trepidation?
Who knows? It could be anything. And so the first treason is that the White Harts plan to be leaving here in a few days. I think they're just heading out to get more recruits or do something like that, but they're actually going to Stannis to pledge to him instead, and that's no good.
They decide to let Joffrey deal with that, keep him busy.
I like that he says let him deal with Joffrey's justice.
Yeah,
like it's a sentence in itself. Like Tyrion is sentencing him
to Joffrey's
justice, which was supposed to be the sentence. But then we learn that the Red Wines, the two twins,
who are essentially in the same boat as Sansa,
hostages, because she in her chapter had asked who made them ride in the tournament because they're there against their will.
Yeah,
they managed to pay off a city guard at one of the exits to the docks, and they had gotten themselves jobs as oarmen on a boat where they were just going to fucking disappear
Yeah, on the
and
Moon
escape.
Runner. They had bribed the man they had. Tyrion decides that the man they bribed, the guard they had bribed, is to be sent to the Night's Watch along with Janos Slynt.
Right, add him to the boat.
And that they should increase security around the Moon Runner in case the Red Wine Twins try to bribe anyone else, but that the Red Wine Twins really aren't going to come to any harm about it because Cersei would be upset if something happened to them because they are her hostages.
And less so that, but more on they don't need to lose any more fucking hostages because they've already lost enough. Like, I think that's part of his thinking there as well. Like, don't slay the fucking
And this
Red
whole time,
Wines.
I just love, like, Varys' commentary because he's just, like, making checks, like, on
very
the...
well
yes,
done.
my lord.
Wise
Prudent,
decision.
prudent
Very
choice.
clever, very
and
clever.
yeah, so we also learned that last night, Timett slew a wine seller's son for cheating him in some gambling.
Did he cheat?
And Tyrion, asks, did he cheat? And Varys says, oh, indeed.
Then the
without a
city
doubt.
should be thanking us.
Yeah,
and
then Timett deserves the king's thanks. I don't give a shit. And the last thing, and
Not
I
the
love,
last thing, just yet.
well, I love the way Varys phrases this because he says, we have been plagued, we have been hit by a sudden plague of holy men. The comet, following the comet, has just brought soothsayers and fucking holy men from all over.
Now, I feel like this is Varys in this would be doing finger quotes. Holy men.
I just
have
like
come
that he
to-
describes them like a plague.
Yeah,
plague
just a
of holy men.
ton of 'em.
Foretelling doom and destruction to any who listen. And Tyrion don't give a fuck. Like, let them.
Yeah, he's like, what are they doing?
And
They're
Tyrion
ranting.
says they're inspiring fear. Like,
Varys says they're inspiring
that's what I
fear.
meant, yeah,
and,
Varys.
and Tyrion's like, well, isn't that exactly what you do, Varys? And Varys, I would never.
what? I never.
Oh my god.
And then Varys brings up the fact that I think it
Lord
was
Giles had at the meal before somebody had raised a goblet to Joffrey's health and said to the king, and
You'll
Giles
need
said
three
you'll
more
need three more.
tankers.
And
Tyrion's like, I'm not having it. I
Dude,
don't want to hear this
like,
bullshit.
this is a dinner party jest.
Yeah.
Like it's not high treason.
and
Ignore
Varys
it. Like,
says, like, that's wise.
wise
like,
in council.
Yeah,
like, that's
don't overreact like Joffrey would and go have the man's tongue cut out.
Yeah.
Like, it was a fucking stupid thing said because there's currently three
yeah.
kings.
It
in the
wasn't
realm.
any treason.
Yeah, he's
thing.
not
He's
plotting.
saying- yeah, exactly.
It was a fucking jest in his cups. And so Tyrion sends Varys away. Varys leaves to start handling some shit. And Tyrion wonders how Cersei is going to take Janos Slynt's removal. But
Not that there's really any time for her to react or respond. or
and
there's
he's
anything she
confident
can
in
do.
the men around him. And then he thinks, but doubtless Lord Eddard Stark felt the same.
Yeah, which is very interesting.
But Bronn awaits
Because
him.
I think that
Oh.
that's similar to what Ned was thinking. Doubtless Jon Arryn thought he was safe as well.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, just the domino effect of it.
Yeah, so he gets up to leave himself, and as soon as he does, Bronn is there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I lied. Bronn is waiting for him in his solar. And he immediately asks about how'd it go with Slynt. How'd it go?
Yeah, it went
How
fine.
was it?
It was fine. It was good. It was great.
He
Slynt's
tells
gone.
him Varys wants him to think he's replaced one of Joffrey's men with one of his own, when in reality all he's done is replaced one of Littlefinger's with one of Varys's. I don't think that's... I mean, yes, definitely, but at the same time, I think that he is demonizing Varys a little bit there. Like, I think Jacelyn Bywater's a good guy for the position.
I think he's just the best choice.
I think that Varys is putting him in there, not necessarily just because the guy will report to him, but because he reports to him in a way that, like,
he would,
and that's where I'm at.
Varys
Like,
prefers his birds.
right, and so I think that because he reminds me of, like, fuck, I can't believe I just forgot his damn name. I lost it again. Jory Cassell.
Oh, yeah.
Just like an older, more veteran Jory. Just that I'll report, I'll do my duty. I have certain things. Oh, this very, very bad guy should, because that would be very not Ned-esque to toss Alardim over the boat and, like, have that happen. Bywater was like, no, I get you. Like, I'm all right with that. That's fine.
Yeah,
So-
it was a little more sellswordy.
Yeah, so I don't think that it's necessarily he's putting his own man there as, like you said, one of the best men for the job.
But we learned that Bronn has been hiring some new men, and that training's going all right. And he essentially has the men try to kill him, and that pretty much tells him what he needs to know.
Tyrion freaks out, and he's like, well, what do I do if they do kill you? He's like, that's the sword you'll need to hire.
Yeah.
That's the one you want.
So Tyrion is kind of lost in his thoughts, and then he asks Bronn, if I asked you to kill a babe at his mother's breast, would you do it without question? And Bronn says, without question, no. And he rubs his fingers together. And
I'd ask how much.
I'd ask how much. And Tyrion thinks, oh, Cersei, you damn fool. Like, you want these men, but I've got 1,000 of them. Like, they're everybody.
I don't need your Alardim. I have my own already.
Yeah.
And he's way better than yours.
And then he thinks he wants to laugh. He wants to cry. But mostly, he wants Shay. Like, fuck this, man. This is brutal. Like, everyone around me is essentially willing to kill a baby for some sort of price. There is an asking price for almost everyone around me to slaughter an innocent.
Yeah, it's like the common question. It's like, it's not even a would you rather anymore. It's like, all right, what's your price?
Yeah, what do you have to,
Where do you
what do I have to give you to kill this kid?
$100, $200, like...
Am I just washing your car real quick?
Like, what's happening? Fuck.
Yeah, it's brutal. And then I think Tyrion is just done with it. Like, just how oblivious Joffrey and Cersei are.
But yeah, so I think...
not knowing if Varys is trustable.
I fucking loved this chapter. Like, because we get to see, we started to see the roots in that first chapter of his, but in this one, we see him starting to play the game. And, like, it's technically the exact same stuff we saw from Ned when Ned first came to King's Landing. But, fuck.
I mean,
like,
it's Tyrion's second chapter, and we've got 7 motherfuckers going to the wall, one of which is getting dumped in the sea on the way.
And if you remember, Ned kept saying during his chapters and appointments with the people, like, I don't play this game that you're playing, this fucking word game.
Love games?
Dancing around, not love games. They're
games?
not playing love games. Tyrion thrives on that. And so to see it from the other side, it's almost like watching, what the others were doing to Ned when Ned was there, but Tyrion's just doing it to all the people that they built up to fucking counter Ned.
Yeah, well, that was Tyrion too. Got an inductee.
Me? Yeah, Jacelyn Bywater.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just a dope dude. He's fucking missing his hand. He's got a metal fucking... prosthetic instead or some shit there. Like, he's a fucking bad. He's gonna push LRD.
When Janos Slynt opened the door and it was him, I was like, yo, who the fuck is it that's missing an arm and has like a hook for a hand? Like, who the fuck is this? And then it was Jacelyn Bywater. And I was like, what up?
It was fucking sick. So I think that it was super cool. I'm really, again, because through this reread, we've been kind of noting names a bit more often, trying to follow certain characters just to pay more attention to them, and I'm really excited to see what Jacelyn Bywater does, because I suppose I've never really focused all that much on him. So yeah, that'll be my inductee this chapter.
Word. Mine is gonna go to Ser Horace and Ser Haber.
Hell yeah.
For taking the initiative and bribing a guard, and like they were good until Varys.
You know what their problem was? They didn't have Sean Connery.
I swear to God, I thought it was going to be something to do with cowbell, and I was going to punch you. No,
The Rock.
I like that they're, they want out. They're not just being those passive fucking
No, that's super cool. Yeah, I've never noticed, because
like,
even before
there's more than just Sansa who's, like, stuck here, and people are making active attempts to flee the city, and that's a super interesting thing to me.
That's where
I'll be super interested to see what happens with Ser Horace and Ser Haber.
Absolutely. Well, again,
King's
with what
Landing.
I was saying.
Yeah, paying attention to the back characters. So, yeah. Those are our inductees. We did get an inductee from Julian in France.
Julian. That's just filler until I can get the email open. And so this one, he had sent in once again before he realized that his chapters are not out of order. Ooh, that's all right, Julian.
Yeah,
we don't mind. But he says, oh, what a delightful conversation between Varys and Tyrion. A shadow on the wall, Varys murmured. Yet shadows can kill, and ofttimes a very small man can cast a very large shadow. Here is why Varys is my inductee this time. Power resides where men believe it resides, is another great line reused by Tyrion in late Season 8 of the Game of Thrones show. Again, do we think that George R.R. Martin could use it in the same fashion in the future? He says best of luck, Viola de Harris, but I definitely think that it will be used in some fashion, just because it's a fairly powerful line in general, that Tyrion will be associated with characters where it'll work again.
I feel as though in Winds of Winter, especially with the changes, which, Julian, you might not be fully aware of, the changes that occur from show to book with Varys and Tyrion yet, but...
And Kevin Lannister.
But I feel in Winds of Winter there is definitely a conversation to be had between Varys and Tyrion again, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, I don't know that it's going to happen in Winds in Winds myself.
I mean, there's one last conversation between them, whether or not it happens in Winds or Dream. I have no idea.
Well, that's where it is. I don't know if it happens in Winds. I wouldn't think it would happen until the very end. Otherwise, I'm saying that a conversation between those two might not occur until, well, I suppose unless Varys mermaids his way across the fucking sea.
I fucking hate you. Shut the fuck up.
Otherwise, I'm thinking Dream of Spring.
Anyway, we're wrapping this episode up because Mermaid Varys is just a step too far. I like tinfoil, but I ain't fucking stupid.
Thanks for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode, which will be, I close my book.
Which will be Arya 3, and it's going to be actually a super short chapter. It's just a little brief interim of Arya talking and getting the idea of her list from her buddy Yoren. So catch us for that one, and then after that, we will be diving into our first Davos chapter of the book.
Yes. So excited for that.
Join us next week, Arya 3. Next week.
Yeah.
Next episode for Arya 3, and I'm out of here so I can stop fucking up Valadar Harris.
Peace.